Hey Dan.
Hey Dave.
Who was the top scorer for the ancient Greek national team?
I don't know.
The centaur forward. Huh? Welcome along to the first episode of Armchair Fancast Does Russia 2018, our special World Cup episodes. We are going to have 10 one-hour-ish episodes during the course of the World Cup as we bring you the hottest and most incisive coverage of everything going on in the world's greatest tournament. Dave Bradshaw here, and as you can see, I'm joined by three of my good pals for our opening show here. First of all, Ali Gregory. Ali, how are you?
Yeah, awesome, thanks Dave.
You've got a smile plastered on your face, despite the fact that Arsenal have signed Emery as their new manager.
Well, it's better than Mikel Arteta, but we put domestic differences aside for this World Cup, and I'm super buzzed for it.
We do. That is the only Arsenal joke I will make in the next 3 minutes. Well, I say that, but here's Dan Parkinson. Dan is an Arsenal fan as well. How are you?
Good, thank you, Dave.
I'm trying. It's really hard to refrain. Dan, how's your summer been so far? Are you excited? How excited are you out of 10 for the World Cup?
It's growing daily, and I would say it's probably at about 8.5 already.
Okay. Yeah, I watched One Night in Turin recently. You know, the documentary on Italia 90, and I've gone on. I'm an 11.
I watched. I went for an hour-long run on a treadmill earlier, and I watched England versus Germany 5-1 in preparation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which way round? Because there's two.
Well, we won 5-1.
Oh no, wait, there was
we lost 4-1.
4-1.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm
catastrophizing
2-2 already. Yeah, well.
Yeah. Maybe if we come back and say that again in 3 weeks, it might be a 5-1 to Germany.
Now, Frankie Quinn's with us. Frankie is a Liverpool fan. And Frankie, it's good of you to show up after, well, you know, what happened. How are you recovering? Will Karius ever play again? What's the vibe among the Liverpool faithful?
Well, I hope Karius plays again, but just for whoever we're playing, rather than us. But in typical Liverpool fan self-delusion style, we signed Fabinho 2 days later and it's all fine. We're winning the Champions League again next year, so it's all absolutely fine. Again? Well, we've won it 5 times. So.
Oh. All right, now, speaking of self-delusion, in a word, are we going to win the World Cup?
Yes.
All right, good. And on that note, let's have a look at what's coming up on today's show.
We give our hot tips on who will be the successes and disappointments in this year's World Cup in Russia.
We've got the toughest World Cup quiz anywhere on the World Wide Web.
And we will be scientifically predicting who's going to win the first big game of this year's tournament. All that and more coming up on today's Armchair Fancast. So a jam-packed show coming up, but if you've been listening to us on our podcast over the past year on iTunes or elsewhere, you will know that an integral part of the Armchair Fancast is the Goal Mouth Scramble, where we go through some of the hottest topics of the week in quick-fire fashion. And of course, this is a special World Cup preview edition, so we're going to go through exactly who we think are going to be, as we said just a moment ago, the biggest surprises, the biggest disappointments, and ultimately who we think is going to win this year's World Cup. We're going to do 5 segments each of 3 minutes each. You'll hear a whistle when we are ready to move on to the next section. Gentlemen, are you ready for the first Goalmouth Scramble of Russia 2018?
Oh yes.
Let's do this.
All right, I've got a fairly high-tech way of measuring this. I've got a stopwatch on my phone. Ready? 3, 2, 1. There's the whistle and we're underway. And the first question, quite simply, is this. It is the big one. Who is going to win the World Cup? We're going to start with you, Frankie Quinn.
Other than England.
Bit of a boring answer, but I'm going Brazil, bookies' favourites. I think they're going to recover from the disappointment of last time. Got a really good new coach who turned things around in qualifying. I think they're the most balanced squad with lots of stars. Coutinho playing really well, Neymar obviously, but also a really good foundation in midfield as well as at the back. So I think there's no real holes in that team, and I think it's going to be Brazil.
The coach is called Tite, not Tight, which I've been calling him.
He got a very tight coach.
So Tite, if you're listening.
And didn't he go 10 games unbeaten at the start of qualifying?
They had like the best World Cup qualifiers in South American qualifying history
yeah.
or something, didn't they? I think
After being about 4th or 5th after a few games when they sacked Dunga,
Yeah.
and so I think they're looking good.
Having said that, no World Cup winner since Brazil in 1958 has been a South American team that's won in Europe. What do you say to that, Frankie?
I think the amount of Brazilian players that play in Europe, I don't even know if any of them are playing in Brazil at the moment. I think it is a different game at the moment. Argentina obviously came quite close last time in Brazil, but I think Brazil are going to do it this time in Russia.
Dan, do you concur?
No, I think it will be Neymar's World Cup. I think he will probably end up being top scorer. As giving something away for our draft, which hasn't happened yet. But no, for me it's still between Germany and Spain. It'll be one of those two, I think.
Which one? Don't sit on the fence. Come on.
Germany.
Germany. Why Germany?
They're really good.
They've been stumbling of late.
And they haven't taken Leroy Sané, which I find
Madness.
utterly bizarre.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it was great
Spoiled
for
for
Manchester
choice.
City last year. I don't think Germany will get anywhere near. Like
Really?
they've got a
Really?
very tough group.
Wow.
They've been not that hot in qualifying or in the World Cup qualifiers. They've got players in midfield, especially like Mesut Ozil, who haven't performed well this season. Gundogan, I think they took. I can't pronounce his name.
And the fans were booing him. Did you see
Yeah.
that?
But that's for off ball.
Yeah, but
stuff.
apparently then they're going to boo Ozil when he's back as well. You know about this?
Yeah, because they took a photo with the Turkish Prime
Turkish
Minister.
Prime
Yeah.
Minister or something.
Called him our
Yeah.
president,
Yeah.
I think.
So I think
They also haven't taken Royce.
Royce, who scored
Royce.
the winner.
Yeah, he got the winner in the World Cup.
yeah,
He would walk into if a player for England scores the winning goal. If Harry Kane scores the winning goal in the World Cup final, he will play until he's on a Zimmer frame.
we're almost out of time on this segment, but I've worked out how England can make it to the final.
Yeah.
So
You've been telling us
bear
a
with
lot.
me. I've been saying
Bribery,
Yeah.
luck.
No. We're one of the countries that doesn't bribe. That's why the World Cup's in Russia this year, folks.
Allegedly.
England can make it through. So at the moment, we are likely to get Brazil or Germany in the quarterfinals, right? Now, having said that, if one of those two teams comes second in their group, then depending on where we finish in ours, we could avoid them entirely, and then we possibly get, I think, Serbia or Mexico.
Well,
in the quarter.
if we finish third again, we avoid everyone entirely.
Well, yeah.
I think once we get spanked by Colombia in the last 16, we'll probably be likely to not even make the quarterfinals.
Anyway, we've done this thing we always do, which is that the whistle has gone and we've overshot. So we will move on. We'll try and be somewhat disciplined, at least on the first episode of the series. And we're going to talk about who we think is going to be the biggest disappointment of this World Cup. Which team will be the biggest disappointment? I didn't actually guess. Shall I go first? Because I didn't actually. I'm going to say Belgium to win it, by the way, as a dark horse pick. But biggest disappointment. This might surprise you as well, but I'm saying, and it might be because I've been watching some historic World Cup footage and they've wound me up. But Argentina. I think Argentina. They had a terrible qualifying campaign. Only just made it. I think they are in for a rough ride this World Cup, and I think this fairy tale that Messi is hoping for maybe isn't going to happen. I put that to you. Who's with me?
I completely agree. I think outside of their front four, or basically outside of their strikers, their team's mediocre at best. And I fully see Messi and Ronaldo trying too hard again and both having terrible World Cups. I really think Neymar's going to light it up.
It's interesting you say that. My bid for worst team was Portugal. I think they did incredibly well to beat France in the end in the Euros. And Cristiano Ronaldo has proven to the world that he can win a national competition with his country, which a lot of people didn't think he could do, especially as the team's ageing and it's not very good. I agree with you that Portugal are going to have a bad time. Argentina, I still think Messi can perform, especially they've got quite an easy group to get through. They seem to always play Nigeria in cup competitions. I think they'll do reasonably well. Portugal are going to be my kind of biggest disappointment.
See, here's why I think that might be wrong, because another team I think is going to be a disappointment is Uruguay. Right, Uruguay are probably going to win Group A because Group A is rubbish. And that means they're probably going to get Portugal because they'll be Portugal will be second in Group B. my boy Vlad. I take that to bed with me. Portugal. Let's not dwell on that. Portugal are going to play Uruguay, I think, second round. I think Portugal are probably going to beat Uruguay. So actually, I think Portugal are going to get through to the quarterfinals fairly unscathed. And then, of course, anything's possible when you're in the last eight. But who haven't we asked? Frankie.
I think I've been toying between two here. I'm going to go for Belgium because I just really don't rate their manager.
I go with Belgium as well.
I've been burnt here because I did say a few years ago to my friends that I thought that one day Martinez would manage Real Madrid, and they've never let me live that down. I think the players really don't like him. I think it's going to be one of those scenarios where there's too much talent and they're almost trying to fit it into a system which doesn't work. And I think that they're going to really potentially struggle, and that could be a potential banana skin.
Or they could do really well, and the Real Madrid manager's role is still vacant, right?
That could happen, and I think that would shut some people up.
My
in my own life. That would solve some problems for me.
You should put some money on that, just in case.
Just in case.
But I think it's a representative of how open the World Cup is, that we all have very contrasting views. It's not like the one-horse race that a lot of people thought it might be, and especially it was last year with 4 years ago with Germany.
Well, on that note, who do we think is going to be the surprise package of this World Cup? And I'm gonna let's throw a spanner in the works here. I want a team, but then also a player. So it can be separate, because I've got an England player who I want to shout out to in a second. But surprise package, Dan, let's go to you.
France and Trippier.
Is that particularly
France would be a surprise.
surprise?
Yeah.
Very,
Well,
very
I mean,
one of the favourites
yeah,
to win.
but I mean, I wouldn't put them in the top category. I wouldn't put them near like Germany and Spain, and then behind them I think there's Brazil, and then behind that I think you've got a group which includes France.
Yeah,
So I think I mean, I think even third. I think Brazil sit on their own for me between Germany and Spain, and then in the third tier of France. But I think France could be a dark horse to go and win it. I mean, I saw their team they drew against the USA 1-1, but I mean their team was fantastic. And then you look at their bench and you're like, wow. I mean, the strength in depth there, the pace they've got, other than Giroud. He's not exactly quick.
Griezmann is really
quick over a couple of yards.
in
But
midfield.
Griezmann, absolutely incredible.
Griezmann for Golden Boot.
And then, but Trippier for me for surprise package. I think he's going to have a really good World Cup on the right for England.
Mine is Peru. Peru have been they've had an exceptional qualifying campaign. People don't sort of pay any attention to Peru. No one knows anything about Peru, right? Everyone's focusing on Brazil and Argentina and Colombia to some extent, right? Peru, surprise package,
had a
South
fantastic
America.
qualifying.
Yeah. There you go.
it's very tough in South America.
Frankie? We'll go there.
I think Switzerland are going to do well, and that's not because I've got them in a World Cup sweepstakes. And Xhaka for Golden Boot, obviously.
Okay.
He's been saving it, all those lack of goals for Arsenal.
Yeah. Frankie, what's yours?
Okay, don't ever play this back to me. I'm going Morocco. I think they're gonna beat Iran first game. Portugal are gonna lose to Spain. Morocco and Portugal are gonna play, and it's gonna be loads of pressure on Ronaldo as well. Could be his last chance. Morocco are gonna win. They didn't concede once in their qualifying group, and then they're gonna face Group A in the last 16, the winner, go through to the quarterfinals. I'm a genius. Put money on it. This is definitely going to happen.
It is a really tough group.
Love that you're like, don't play
this. That is a group that one of the big boys.
I've gone big on the dark horse.
Yeah, that's mental.
I think you're like,
mental.
never play this back to me.
Yeah.
You've got video evidence on the internet.
This is the worst episode to do it on.
You've got to go big on the surprise package. You can't go France.
Yeah,
can you?
France is a poor cop out on a surprise package.
Now I was going to say for my player surprise package, and you just heard the whistle go, but I was going to say Ruben Loftus-Cheek. If he plays, I reckon Loftus-Cheek is due to be the playmaker through the middle for England if he does make it. On that note, our next subject today is England. What is par for England in this tournament? Is it last 16? Are we saying, is it quarterfinals we're expecting? What counts as a good tournament for England?
I think I've lived through enough World Cups and have seen enough media hatred of England's World Cup campaigns to know that I think the group is the most important thing. Mm-hmm. So it's about not like messing up in the group. It's about winning those opening two games like we know we should. It doesn't really matter what happens with Belgium. I think it will be a draw or a loss potentially. But as long as we get out of that group and have a good tie in the second round, which I can't see anybody in Group H that wouldn't be seen as a good tie for us, even if we were to finish second. And I think after that, it doesn't really matter what happens. If England get knocked out to Germany or Brazil, it's not the greatest shock in the world. I think it's how we perform in the group. It's if the players step up, unless there's any kind of typical England dramas in the group stages, we should do a good par World Cup.
So Frankie, if we come second in the group, let's say everything goes as expected, which is that maybe we can hopefully beat Tunisia, certainly we beat Panama, we lose to Belgium, but we come second in the group, and then we go out to Colombia. Will you be, as an England fan, will you be like, yeah, that's all right?
I think that's about par. But I think it very much depends on how we play in that game, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If we surrender really meekly and it's kind of a 4-1 against Germany, for example, or kind of like the way we played really toothless against Iceland, then that's really bad. But I think Colombian opponents are better than us and they will be favourites going into that game. Maybe not here, but in the rest of the world they definitely will be. So I think if we give a good account of ourselves, play well, could potentially beat them, but I think that's about par.
Does it the manner of how we go out count?
So massively,
yes.
So Dan, I'm talking about what's par is second round par, but I would say a 2010 style second round where we are absolutely dog poo throughout the group stage and then get absolutely humiliated by one of our arch rivals in the second round. That's not good enough. A fighting defeat to Colombia, like Frankie's saying, I could live with that, but it depends on how we play, not just what the results are, right?
Well, based on recent examples, par would be to meekly get through the group and then get battered by one of our close rivals. But hopefully we can shoot above par. But I think you are right. Yes, the manner in which we play will definitely equate to how the media and the public perceive the team on their way back from the last 16.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, we're going to go on to our last segment of today's Scramble, and we're going down memory lane. Now, for Ali, this goes back about 5 years at most. If you were with us at
All
Christmas,
of my memories include the last 2 World Cups.
we had a quiz at Christmas on a podcast, right? And there was Dan. We all brought a round in. Dan brought in a round on 1990s football, and Ali thought it was an outrage that we had gone back into ancient history. So,
My father, youngest person.
so with that in mind, what is your best and worst World Cup memory, probably from 2014?
No. The best one is my first ever memory, and that's the first time I could probably remember watching a World Cup, and that's Michael Owen's goal against Argentina. Like, given his age, given his experience in World Cups up until then, and given the pressure we were under as well, it's such a massive game. It's Argentina, given all the rivalry and history they've got between the two teams. To score a goal where he goes around 3 defenders, and it's a brilliant finish as well. It's like right into the top left-hand corner.
My favourite thing about that guy, I was watching it again yesterday actually, and is where Paul Scholes comes up to hit it, and you see Scholes go, leave it! And Owen's like, nope, no, I've done the work, and Owen makes history. Yeah,
It's just amazing.
What's your worst memory?
The worst one of the worst ones would come in that game as well, with David Beckham being a silly boy. Another one would come in with the Rooney being a silly boy as well. But I think I'm going to go even before that was Gareth Southgate's missed penalty as well.
Do you remember that?
No, I don't necessarily remember it, but it gets kicked back by watching past videos in the previous
I cried that day.
10 years of my life.
That wasn't World Cup.
That was the
actually.
Euros.
Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Dan, you go back to the least 60s. So what's your? I'm assuming by your hair.
You see my hair, Dave? I should be getting 80s questions right.
Dan, best and worst?
My best is probably Zidane's performance against Brazil in I think it was the semi or the quarter in 2006. I mean, it was just the complete performance from a man that was retiring literally days later. And then my worst is probably Zidane's headbutt against Materazzi and getting sent off. And there's an image of him walking past this trophy, this specific one. It was nice of them to lend it to us.
It's amazing what a nice legend can achieve.
It was on a plinth, very much like this, and he walked past it and refused to look at it, and it was so sad. It was like the closing credits to what was that? What was that TV show with the Alsatian, the littlest hobo, when it's just on his way, like refusing to look back and just walk shambles past.
It's an iconic image. It's absolutely iconic image.
And an extremely dated one. So well done, Dan. You came through for us there. Whistle's gone, but frankly, very quickly, what's your best and worst?
Worst, definitely 2006. Beckham getting injured, Rooney getting sent off, and us losing on penalties.
The wink.
I don't remember 98, so I generally think my best memory was Raheem Sterling against Italy sticking it in the top corner, me going absolutely berserk and running around the room, and then it turns out it was side netting.
I think
that goal.
That was genuinely unbelievable.
To a game against Italy where we had one of the toughest groups in the competition, to start the way we did. I remember those opening first 5 minutes. I thought we were going to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
The young squad we had, Raheem Sterling bursting down the right, taking that shot.
I remember 1990. Barely. I wasn't really. I was only like 6 or 7 years old. I wasn't really paying attention. But I remember everyone was miserable the next day. In, like all the grown-ups in school were very upset after we lost. After Gaza cried. Yeah.
In your secondary school.
Yeah, in my secondary school.
Yeah,
I still call them grown-ups.
Yeah.
Anyway, that completes our goalmouth scramble for today. Thank you, gentlemen. When we're back at the weekend for episode 2, by the way, we are going to have a more England-centric one as we get ready for England's first match of the tournament. Ah, the World Cup, where legends are made and heroes are born. Who can forget Bobby Moore lifting the trophy at Wembley Stadium? Johan Cruyff leading the Dutch to the final in '74. Ronaldo coming back from the heartache of 4 years earlier to score twice in the 2002 final. But for every good guy, there's a bad guy. For every game-saving wonder tackle, there's a two-footed leg breaker. For every 30-yard thunder bastard, there's a guy going down like he's been shot when David Beckham barely touched him, getting him a red card, leaving 15-year-old me in tears and creating one of the biggest injustices in the history of human civilization. Yeah, Simeone, you're in this video. I still remember. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, the list. Spoiler alert, there's a few offences that haven't made the cut. Roy Keane walking out on Ireland is annoying if you're Irish, but to be fair, those dogs weren't going to walk themselves and they looked like they needed at least 3 walks a day. Patrice Evra leading a mutiny in the France squad in 2010 is not particularly captain-like behaviour, but it's not so much villainous as it is helpful. It meant that the finalists from 4 years earlier wouldn't make it out of the group, helping clear the way for the rest of us to go on a run to the final. Oh, and no one's going to get on this list just for getting a tattoo on their leg, however outraged it might make those bastions of morality at the Sun. Seriously, just shut up. With all of that in mind, I'm Dave from Armchair Fancast, and this is the top 10 villains in World Cup history. Like what you see, subscribe and enable notifications. Bish, bash, bosh. Number 10, Cristiano Ronaldo. The wink of God. Admittedly, there's plenty of England fans who would put this higher on the list, and if you'd asked me in July 2006 who was the ultimate villain in World Cup history, then I probably would have shown you a voodoo doll of Cristiano Ronaldo with several sharp objects inserted. But you just can't stay mad at someone this good, and besides, he's now got his own superhero cartoon, so he's literally the opposite of a villain. And oh my god, look at those abs. What a dreamboat. Granted, though, what he did that night in Gelsenkirchen was decidedly not cool. It was the quarter-final of the World Cup, and it pitted Ronaldo against his Man United teammate Rooney. Having worked with him for 2 years, Ronaldo knew that Al Wayne had a bit of a temper on him, and that knowledge clearly guided Portugal's approach to handling England's star player right from the opening whistle. After over an hour of being roughed up and verbally provoked by the Portuguese team, Rooney finally snapped with a cheeky little stamp on Ricardo Carvalho's nether regions. The referee wasn't going to do anything about it either until Ronaldo came charging over to insist his club teammate be sent off. And that's exactly what happened. Pleased with his day's work, the sneaky little scamp then gave a cheeky wink back to the Portuguese dugout. Mates, yeah? Guess how this story ends, by the way? Yeah, the same way every England story ends. We got knocked out on penalties. Oh, and Ronaldo scored the winning spot kick. Number 9, Marco Materazzi. Another entry from the 2006 tournament, which was otherwise a rip-roaring good time. I actually went to Germany that summer and woke up one morning in a Munich car park wearing a Germany shirt and no trousers. True story, but one for another day. Anyway, the more famous story from that summer is what happened in the final between France and Italy. It was the last game in the storied career of one Zinedine Zidane, and what more fitting end could there be to one of the greatest careers in history than having him lift the holy grail of football for a second time. Alternatively, as destiny ordained that day, we could forget all about the fairy tale ending and go for something utterly bat crazy instead, which is much more fun after all. With 10 minutes left of extra time and probably a billion people watching all around the world, Zidane inexplicably headbutted Marco Materazzi, got sent off, and yep, you guessed it, lost the final on penalties. Except that it wasn't just a moment of madness, was it, Marco, you evil genius? Much like Ronaldo with Rooney earlier in the tournament, Materazzi had exploited Zidane's reputation for occasional lapses in composure and allegedly told him that Zinedine's sister wanted to, sell her wares to him. A slightly immature trap, perhaps, but it worked. One cranium to chest connection later and we were all denied the kind of script that would have made for a proper inspirational Hollywood dramatisation a little bit later on. Also, I've just realised the first 2 entries in this list, a man's been stamped in the balls and another man's been headbutted, and I've argued that both of them are the villains rather than the victims. Well, whatever, it's my list, deal with it. Number 8, Nigel de Jong. Right, it's the 2010 World Cup final. You're the Netherlands, a team who has already lost in 2 previous finals and desperately wants to make it 3rd time lucky. But you're in there against European champions and tournament favourites Spain, whose tiki-taka style has fundamentally changed the tactical landscape of the game. What do? On the one hand, you're a proud footballing country who invented total football, and if you play at your best, then you could help produce one of the greatest World Cup finals the planet has ever seen. On the other hand, here's a different plan. You could just kick lumps out of your opponents and try to win the match via knockout. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. The 2010 final saw no fewer than 9 yellow cards for the Netherlands, 2 of which led to a sending off for centre-back John Heitinga. But how on earth they didn't also lose Nigel de Jong is one of the universe's great mysteries. Earlier in the game he launched a proper kung fu kick into the chest of Xabi Alonso. If you're like me, it was the kind of flying kick that was the only move your mate Steve was able to do on Street Fighter back in the day, yet somehow he would keep winning even though you knew how to do all the proper moves like the Dragon Punch and the Hadouken, but stupid Steve just kept hitting jump and kick, jump and kick, jump and kick. Anyway, I digress. The tackle, if you can call it that, was absolute filth, and it epitomised how cynically the Dutch approached what could have been an excellent showcase of world football. Jump and kick. Jump and kick. Number 7, Rivaldo. Christ, where to start with this one? Brazil may have been excellent in the 2002 World Cup and were rightful winners when all was said and done, but this is one of the most embarrassingly pathetic things you're ever likely to see. It's the group stages. Brazil are seconds away from securing a hard-fought 2-1 win against Turkey. The Turks are already down to 10 men after a controversial red card a few minutes earlier, and now Brazil have a corner which Rivaldo is in no hurry to take. Apparently trying to hurry things along a little bit, Hakan Ünsal kicks the ball at him, perhaps a little harder than he should, and it strikes Rivaldo in the leg. Now, for those of you less clued in on the human anatomy, the legs are those 2 stick-shaped things below the waist that you use for walking, running, and in my case, deadlifting literally hundreds of kilograms of weights every single morning before sunrise. Crucially though, the legs are nowhere near the head. So it was a bit of a surprise when Rivaldo fell to the floor like a sack of spuds, clutching his face as though he'd just been hit in the nose by a small asteroid. Referee Young-Joo Kim decided for some reason that all of this seemed very persuasive, so he got out his red card and sent Ünsal for an early bath. Fortunately, FIFA, who are even more qualified than the Sun to judge the ethical behaviour of others, decided the theatrics were all a bit much, and Rivaldo was given a £5,000 fine, which, if you adjust for inflated football wages, is the equivalent of you and me being stripped of the 50p I plan to spend on a Twix in the vending machine later on, between sets of deadlifts, obviously. What would have worked better would be if Rivaldo had been suspended, at least up to and including the quarter-finals, so he wouldn't have been able to score against England, and we could have 100% definitely beaten Brazil and won the whole thing. Or lost again, on penalties. Number 6, the entire West Germany squad of 1982. I've refrained from including any England-Germany incidents in this list, which is pretty good, I reckon, considering how ridiculously far over the line that Lampard goal was. But unfortunately for the 4-time champions known as Die Mannschaft, they've still made the list. Die Mannschaft, that's a funny word. In 1982, West Germany were sitting atop Group 2 with 1 game left to play and had the fate of 2 other nations' teams in their hands. One was their opponents in that final group game, neighbours Austria, who would advance along with the Germans as long as they didn't lose by 3 or more goals. The other team involved was Algeria, who had frankly been more impressive than Austria so far in the tournament, but needed a Germany win by 3 or more goals in order to advance in Austria's place. The Germans took an early 1-0 lead through Horst Hrubesch, horse, whatever. Anyway, what happened next was one of the most unsportsmanlike spectacles ever witnessed. 80 minutes where both teams just kind of passed the ball casually around, obviously not looking to score and happy to play out the clock. The end result was Algeria went home, feeling understandably robbed of their spot at the world's greatest tournament. They would later take revenge against the world by playing in an even worse 0-0 draw against England in 2010. Since that 1982 incident, FIFA have decided that the last games in each group must be played simultaneously so that no shenanigans can take place. But of course, that decision came too late to help Algeria during that sweltering summer in Spain, who were the victims of a German-Austrian conspiracy. What a bunch of man-shafts. Number 5, Thierry Henry. Speaking of conspiracy theories, I've no doubt that Arsenal fans will be incredulous at the inclusion of their demigod in this list, especially as high as number 5, and especially since the incident I'm about to describe happened in qualification, not even in the finals themselves. Well, I say two things in my defence. First, you shouldn't have poisoned our lasagna, and second, you're absolutely right. Thierry Henry scores bonus villain points for being a massive gooner. Again, it's my list. Fight me. My reason for including the Frenchman here is that he single-handedly, yeah, that's a deliberate pun, he single-handedly stopped the Republic of Ireland from qualifying for the 2010 World Cup with what looks like a deliberate handball on the way to assisting a decisive French goal in extra time of the playoff between the two teams. After a pass deep into the box from Malouda, Henry clearly uses his hand not once but twice to keep the ball from going out for a goal kick, before a short cross onto the head of Gallas to break the hearts of the Emerald Isle. Most audaciously of all, Henry then had the nerve at the final whistle to console the dejected Irish players. It was a bit like if Darth Vader put a fatherly arm around Princess Leia after blowing up her planet. Chin up, Leia, worse things could happen. Oh, by the way, I'm your dad. As I've already mentioned though, the French team got the comeuppance they deserved the following summer when they had that collective team implosion in South Africa and came home with their tails between their legs. If I was FIFA, I would have insisted that their flight back from Johannesburg be diverted via Dublin, just for a laugh. Number 4, Luciano Gauci. Who on earth is that, I hear you ask? Well, calm down, I'm about to tell you. In 2002, Luciano Gauci was the chairman of Italian club Perugia, and he's an interesting character. Later on, he would sign the son of Libyan dictator Colonel Gaddafi, even though he was absolute rubbish, because the Italian Prime Minister thought it would be good for Italian-Libyan relations. And another time, when the league turned down Gauci's request to sign a woman to his men's squad, he retaliated by promising to play a horse instead. That'll show him, Luciano, yeah. Anyway, Gauci's most infamous act of idiocy came after Italy were knocked out of the 2002 World Cup by co-host South Korea in the second round thanks to a golden goal from An Jung-hwan. As it happened, Jung-hwan was playing on loan for Perugia at the time this happened, leading Gauci to cancel the deal and claim that Jung-hwan had offended the country that had welcomed him with open arms 2 years earlier. Gauci later realised that Jung-hwan was actually pretty nifty, so he tried to change his mind and sign him on a permanent deal. Unsurprisingly, the South Korean told him where to stick it. Well, how does this story end? In 2005, Perugia went bankrupt and the Italian government wanted to arrest Gauci on suspicion of fraud, so he legged it to the Dominican Republic. Brilliant. Number 3, Diego Simeone. It's taken considerable restraint not to make this number 1 on the list, and number 2 and number 3. In 1998, despite all the drama around manager Glenn Hoddle bringing a faith healer with him to France, the England team were among the favourites for the tournament after reaching the semis of Euro 96 and winning Le Tournoi de France a year later. Unfortunately, a last-minute defeat against Romania in the groups meant that the Three Lions only finished second and were paired with fellow heavyweights Argentina in the second round. It was, by any standard, a heck of a game. Argentina took the lead with a penalty, England equalised with one of their own, Michael Owen scored that goal to announce his arrival on the world stage, and Argentina scored from an admittedly ingenious set piece to make it 2-2, all before half-time. Then it happened. England's golden boy David Beckham, who'd been pushed around all day by the Argentinians, was fouled by midfield enforcer Diego Simeone. Beckham lashed out with his leg on his way back to his feet, causing Simeone to fall to the floor in a way that made Rivaldo in 2002 look like an angel. We all know exactly what happened next. Beckham got sent off, the game went to penalties, England inevitably lost, and Beckham was vilified by away fans for the next year or more. For his part, Simeone later admitted that he exaggerated his reaction to try and get Beckham sent off. Well, duh. Oh, that's not all, by the way. I only learned this recently, which is probably for the best because it would have been more than I could take in 1998, but apparently the Argentina players taunted the defeated England team from the windows of their team bus later that night as they left the stadium, which makes it all the sweeter that we beat them in 2002 thanks to a single goal from one David Beckham. Simeone now manages Atletico Madrid, who I really want to like but absolutely refuse to, and if he ever comes to manage Tottenham then I'll probably just stop watching football and become a cricket fan. Moron. God, I'm angry right now. Number 2, Diego Maradona. Well, this isn't going to help, is it? Again, it's Argentina, again against England, and one of the most unforgettable nights in football history because it showed both the greatness and total scumbaggery of a man who some believe is the greatest player of all time. They're wrong, by the way. The greatest player of all time is Gary Mabbott. Here's what happened. The ball was lofted into the box and Maradona, who, let's not forget, was 8 inches shorter than England goalkeeper Peter Shilton, somehow out-jumped him to head the ball into the net and give Argentina the lead. Except, of course, he didn't use his head at all. Instead, his hand was raised above him and he basically punched the ball into the goal. The referee had a look, thought, yep, this all seems completely above board, and allowed the goal. Later in the match, Maradona would score perhaps the best goal ever scored in the World Cup with a Mabbott-esque effort to send Argentina into the semi-finals and eventually to win the whole tournament, but that's beside the point, especially when the little slime bucket used a post-match interview to claim that his first effort was directed into the goal by the hand of God. Argentina would nearly win the World Cup again in 1990 before Maradona was sent home in disgrace from USA 94 after failing a drugs test. There's some people in his native country who claim that Lionel Messi will never be as good as Maradona until Messi wins a World Cup. These people are idiots. The man is a cheat. God, I'm still livid. Thank God there's only one left or I might burst a blood vessel. Number 1, Luis Suarez. It takes something special to beat the rest of the names on this list of Batman-esque supervillains, but if there was ever a man who's up to the task, it's Luis Suarez, who's managed to totally disgrace himself in 2 consecutive World Cups. It all started in 2010 when, at the first ever World Cup hosted in Africa, an African team was on the brink of making the semi-finals for the first time. In the final minute of extra time between Ghana and Uruguay, Suarez did his best impression of a goalkeeper to stop Ghana from scoring a last-gasp winner. He got sent off, but Asamoah Gyan blasted the resulting penalty over the bar to send the game to a shootout and leave Suarez celebrating on the sideline at the success of his treachery. Uruguay then won the shootout, and I wrote a letter to every teacher who ever told me that cheaters never prosper to let them know that they were sadly mistaken. Fast forward 4 years. In the autumn after that travesty in South Africa, Suarez had been suspended for biting another player while at Ajax. The Dutch giants understandably decided that cannibalism wasn't really their thing, so they sold Suarez to Liverpool, who gave him strict instructions not to feast on any human flesh. That seemed to work for a while, although he was found guilty of racially abusing another player in the meantime. But unfortunately in 2013, Suarez temporarily forgot, and after taking a chunk out of Chelsea's Ivanovic, he was suspended for 10 games. So you'd think he'd be on his best behaviour at the World Cup, right? Yeah, no. In Uruguay's final group game, he left bite marks in Giorgio Chiellini and then fell to the ground clutching his teeth as though the Italian's shoulder had somehow forced itself into his molars. Another red card, another lengthy suspension, another national embarrassment, although the president of Uruguay called the punishment fascist, which sort of implies that you can't be against cannibalism without being a far-right extremist. Suarez will be back in 2018, so who knows what wonders await us next. So, that's our list. Am I right? Who have I missed out? Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow me on Twitter here. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'm off to send Luis Suarez a vegan recipe book. Bye for now. There you are. Luis Suarez, the biggest jerk in World Cup history. I love the word jerk. Just saying. Thanks, Dan. Alright, it's time for today's quiz. And we have 2 gladiators of the quizzing world ready to go head to head. Frankie, looking confident. And
Cautiously optimistic.
yeah, okay. And Dan, looking very relaxed actually, leaning just kind of casually on the beanbag here.
It's in the bag, isn't it?
All right, Owen is here. He's going to be our official adjudicator and timekeeper.
Thank you very much for having me,
So
Dave.
you're very welcome. And we will, as we go ahead, if you see anything untoward going on between either of these two, just let us know. Right, there's going to be 3 rounds in today's quiz. It's all about the World Cup, obviously. Our first round is called the 1-2. And so we're going to have. I'm going to give you a category. You have to bounce one person at a time, answering, giving me a correct answer until one of you gives me a wrong answer, and then the other person wins 3 points. There's going to be 3 of these. Okay.
It's mallet.
Essentially, it's mallet smelling. Yeah. Again, another dated reference. Dan. Well done. You are flying today. All right. So the 1-2. First of all, this is for 3 points. I won't keep score.
Okay.
What was your maths GCSE? What grade?
It's like a C, just about. Where's my phone?
Okay.
Get someone to keep score with. I actually use my fingers.
Just use your fingers.
Alright, cool.
You didn't have a phone back in the day, did you?
All right. That's why I got a C.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, on Thursday it is the opening match of the 2018 World Cup. Can you name me any country that has appeared in the opening match of a World Cup from 1966 onwards? So, including 1966, any country that has appeared in the opening game of a World Cup. Dan, you're going to go first. Name me a country.
France.
France is correct in 2002.
Brazil.
Brazil, yes, Brazil have been in 3 opening contests.
Senegal.
Senegal, yes, in 2002. Yeah.
South Africa.
South Africa in 2010 as hosts, yeah.
Scotland.
Scotland in 98, where they nearly, but did not, beat Brazil.
Croatia.
Croatia in 2014, yes, Frankie.
Argentina.
Argentina, yes, in 82 and 90 as defending champions, yep.
Mexico.
Mexico, yes, twice, 1970 and 2010.
Cameroon.
Cameroon were in the opening game in 1990. Come on, Frankie.
Netherlands.
Netherlands. We might be onto a loser here. Netherlands have never ever been in the opening game of a World Cup, which means, Frankie, that
Too
you
easy.
are 3-0 down on points.
I had nothing there.
As
But it's always winners and hosts, right? Pretty much.
it switched to hosts. It switched to hosts in like 2006.
In 2006, yeah. And then other than that, it was always the previous winners.
Yes, if you can name anyone who's won it or a host, then you're in business. All right, now second one. This is hard. This one. Can you name me any players who have scored 6 or more goals in a single World Cup tournament? 6 or more goals in a single World Cup tournament. Frankie, but you're going to go first this time.
Closer.
Closer. Has he?
I don't think he has. I think he's 5 at most. But he's got 14 across
He
a few.
has never
Great
scored-
showing so far.
scored
Make your opponent say.
I'll go with Ronaldo the phenomenon.
Yeah, yes, Ronaldo did in 2002, which means Dan is 6 up. There were 20 names on that list.
Really?
Yeah.
20?
No way.
Sorry, 24.
With 6 or more.
And Closer is the all-time
Who was
leading
the-
World Cup scorer
What
as
was
well.
the German guy's name who got like
Gerd
14?
Müller.
Was
Gerd
it
Müller.
Müller who got
Oh, so I had a correct answer, but just wasn't, didn't decide to use
Do you
it.
know who the, this isn't for a point, but do you know who's the single most in any World Cup?
I thought it was Gerd Müller.
No, Muller has 10 in 1970, someone has 13.
Wow.
Yeah, any ideas? This is any World Cup.
Maradona or something.
Could be, this is, no.
Was it a 38 one?
No, Fontaine, France,
Oh,
1958.
yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
Alright, last of 3 in this round. Dan is currently 6-0 up, is that right?
That's correct.
Mr.
My
Referee?
maths, I believe, is
Excellent.
succeeding me so far.
Good. Okay, it is. It's a World Cup in Europe coming up this week in Russia. The last time the World Cup was in Europe was in Germany in 2006. So, can you name all 14 or any of the 14 European teams who took part in the 2006 World Cup? So, any member of UEFA whose national team took part in the 2006 World Cup. Dan, it's your turn to go first.
Germany.
Germany did, yes.
England.
England did.
France.
France, yes.
Italy.
Italy, yes.
Netherlands.
Netherlands, yes.
Spain.
Spain, yes.
Portugal.
Portugal, yes.
Serbia, Montenegro.
Yes, Frankie.
Sweden.
Sweden did. Oh, was that England, Sweden, 2006? Joe Cole. Belter, 2-all.
I feel like I'm about to go 9-0 down here. Denmark.
Denmark. 9-0 Dan.
I had nothing.
Again, it's close, but Dan is very
wait,
much-
no, wait.
It's clinical.
Wait.
It's clinical.
Turkey were there, I think.
Okay, I'll give you the list.
Yeah.
Croatia, Czech Republic, England, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Serbia, Montenegro, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine.
So would you have gone Turkey?
Probably.
Ah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I couldn't remember any others.
It is by total luck.
Clinical so far.
I wouldn't say. I don't think the scoreline reflects the play. It's not a 9-0 game, this. But here we are.
It's wilting under the lights.
Anyway, that's the end of that first round, and after the end of the first round, let's go to Owen for the scores. Owen.
The score is 9-0.
Thanks, Owen.
Respectable.
Right, good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, Dave.
All right, we are going to go to round 2. This is Poetry Corner. Again, 3 points for a correct answer. Now, I'm going to start reading you a poem I've written about someone associated with the World Cup. When you think you know who it is, you, let's say, shout your name. Okay, your name. So, Dan, you would shout.
Dan.
Correct. Right, and then you will, if you're the first to shout, you will get the guess. If you are wrong, the other person can listen to the rest of the poem and then have a free reign to guess it. Okay? Winner gets 3 points. Does everyone understand the rules?
Yes.
Alright. Poetry Corner, question number 1. I wrote these today. They're pretty good. I'm not Superman, despite what they say, but I know right from wrong, and I still feel betrayed. We got out of our group, but fans were having a go. They said watching us was worse than watching the one show. The whole world saw it, so let me be frank.
Frankie.
Yes.
Lampard.
3 points to Frankie.
Wait, was that him calling his name, or was that in, like
the
that
whole-
would be a disqualification?
Well, no, his name is Frankie.
Yeah, but
well, you're the ref.
but it's,
Sorry. Oh, he's not 9-3 down. You're on the points. Yeah. I'll finish it for you. The whole world saw it, so let me be frank. If the ref didn't see it, he's as thick as a plank. It's great and all that we now have VAR, but where was that when I rammed one in off the bar? Frank Lampard. And I use the word rammed because he's the new Derby manager.
very nice, Dave. Very nice.
One show reference to his romantic life.
Exactly, the one show. That's good, Frankie. That was a reference to the fact that he is now married to Christine Blakely, who was the one show host. There we are. Little facts I'm throwing in for you. Little trivia.
Have a busy day, did you?
Yeah. Golf wonders why I get
Poetry.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2. Good work, Frankie. You're back in this. Poem number 2. When no one in the crowd knew what this game's about, they still recognised me when I was coming out. With Romario, Baggio and Stoichkov set for action, a good show from me could start a chain reaction.
Frankie.
Dan.
It's Frankie.
Diana Ross.
Frankie
Yeah.
Quinn. 6 points.
Is this
now.
Nice.
the World Cup miss? The
I will
penalty
finish
miss?
it.
Yeah.
Never mind a mountain high, there ain't no goal sufficiently wide. but though my shot made the whole world laugh, I struck it so hard I still split the goal in half. Diana Ross, and you may have noticed, Frankie, that's probably why you got it. Chain Reaction and I'm Coming Out are both Diana Ross songs. Congratulations, Frankie. 9-6.
Pulling it back.
Make it respectable.
Pulling it back here.
Istanbul, come on, man.
Yeah, it is. It is like Istanbul a little bit. I'm sure Frank would go on about it for the next 13 years because that's how Liverpool fans
Much
are.
longer than that, Dave. Just you wait.
All right, last poem today in Poetry Corner. So today, probably ever. But we'll see if this is going to be a returning feature. Here we go. Today, I spend my time fighting trolls on Twitter. But years ago, the world seemed less twisted and bitter. Back then, I'd sing a song, and the nation raised its hopes. Now I'm being ripped off by you bunch of dopes. I was doing this shtick when you kids were still in school, sat on a couch and trying to be cool. Whereas you're stuck with Dan, I had my Brummy mate with me, and everyone loved us, except Jason Lee. Ooh, that's it. That's all that's left. How long are we going to give
I
him?
don't know. We need some like tension music.
Dan.
I'll add that in.
Dan.
Yeah.
Chris Waddle.
No.
I thought
Frankie,
you
you can
saying
have-
Dan was like the Jaws music, the suspense.
Yeah.
Frankie. John Barnes.
No. The answer is David Baddiel. Sitting on a couch, he stuck with his Brummie mate, and they used to make fun of Jason Lee for having a pineapple on his head.
Oh, yeah. Well, ruined his
David
career.
Baddiel. So that is end of that poetry corner round, and the scores, we'll add this in post-production. Ping! 9. Another one here. Ping! 6. 9-6.
This is some good graphics.
You're
there.
still in the lead. Thanks, mate. Probably taken me all night. I've bitten off more than I can chew here in terms of technical skills. Right, now, Owen, you need a watch. Have you got something with you? Do you need my phone?
Yeah.
I don't know where my phone is.
Where's my phone?
We might need... This is awkward, isn't it? Has anyone got a stopwatch?
That's
I've
right.
turned it off. True
Hang on.
professional.
We've got a
We've got
runner.
one.
We've got one coming. It's going to be the quick fire round. And so you're each going to get 60 seconds to answer as many questions as possible. Each correct answer is worth 1 point. And then obviously at the end the winner will be the winner of today's quiz. Dan, you start with a 9-6 advantage. Because you are in the lead, you are going first.
Do we get a skip? Can we move on?
If you want, you can pass whenever you want.
Pass, yeah.
And when we get to 60 seconds, Owen will say stop, and then I will do his mastermind. So I will start. If I started, I'll finish, and you will have a chance to answer the last question we're on. So 60 seconds on the clock.
Ready?
If we could, you need to be counting how many he gets as well, of course.
Oh, we'll try my best.
We'll try your best.
Mhm.
All right. Are you ready? We'll start the clock after I finish the first question. Dan, here we go with your quickfire round today. Which of the 32 World Cup nations has the biggest population?
Russia.
No, Brazil. What was the name of the previous World Cup trophy won by England in 1966?
Jules Rimet.
Yes, that's correct. True or false? The highest ranked African team at this year's World Cup is Senegal.
False.
Yes, it is false. It's Tunisia. Which club is sending the most players to this year's World Cup? Any club in the world. Which club is sending the most to the World Cup?
Barcelona.
No, Man City. When England won the World Cup in 1966, who was the British Prime Minister?
Attlee.
No, Harold Wilson. Attlee. Which movie star features in this year's official World Cup song?
Pass.
Will Smith. Which city has hosted a World Cup final more recently, Paris or Berlin?
Berlin.
Yes, that's correct. Italy, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, and which other team lost in the UEFA playoffs for a spot in this year's World Cup?
Pass.
Greece. Who
10
was manager
seconds.
of Spain when they won the 2010 World Cup?
Oh, pass.
Del Bosque. Who played more games in the World Cup, Pele or
Stop.
Maradona?
Maradona.
That is correct, Maradona.
Are we counting that?
We'll count that one because we were mid-question when it finished.
We finished.
Which gives a
with
score of
4.
which gives you a total score today, Dan, of 13 points in the quiz. It gives you a target of 7
You can
to
do it.
level it, 8 to win the quiz. Frankie, are you ready
Let's do
for
this.
your quick fire round? We'll start the clock when I finish the first question. Here we go. Which of the 32 World Cup nations has the smallest population?
Iceland.
Correct. Which nation was given permanent custody of the Jules Rimet Trophy in 1970 after winning it for a third time?
Brazil.
That's correct. True or false? The highest ranked country to not appear in this year's World Cup is Chile.
True.
That is true. Who's sending more players to the World Cup this year, Real Madrid or Barcelona?
Real Madrid.
Yep. When England won the World Cup in 1966, who was the US president?
Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yes, he was. Which American artist sings Colours, the Coca-Cola anthem for this year's World Cup?
Pass.
Jason Derulo. Which city has hosted a World Cup final more recently, Buenos Aires or Mexico City?
Mexico City.
Correct. Sweden, Denmark, Croatia, and which other team won in the UEFA playoffs to secure a spot in this year's tournament?
Iceland.
No, Switzerland. Who was manager of Italy when they won the 2006 World Cup?
Lippi.
Yes, it was. Who scored more World
10
Cup
seconds.
goals, Pele or Maradona?
Pele.
Yes. Who is the last World Cup host nation to not have any blue in their national flag?
South Africa.
No, Germany. Who came third
Stop.
in the 2014 World Cup? Who came third?
Holland.
Yes, they did. Netherlands. Correct. Frankie, how many was that?
That was 9.
9. Which gives
Hey, mate.
Frankie...
Well
This
played.
is a bull, man.
I would like to say these questions were much easier.
Well,
I will not be having that, actually.
don't impugn the integrity of the
It's
quiz
not needed
master.
right now.
Can we...
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a yellow card with you? Worst referee ever. Yellow shirt. You're not having it. It's vintage. 1998, that. Congratulations, Frankie. A
Thank you.
15-13 victory in today's quiz. Now, a little bit earlier on, as you saw, we played Spain versus Portugal, which is this Friday's big game in the World Cup. We played it on FIFA to see how we thought things were going. And I now have a much more scientific way to show you who exactly is going to win. Remember Paul the Octopus a couple of World Cups ago. Well, my parents just got a new puppy. Her name is Lucy, and I'm calling her Predicto Pup. Here's who she thinks is going to win Spain versus Portugal this Friday. Supposed to eat a biscuit. Lucy, try in there. Look. Lucy. All right, try again. Go see Dad. Go see Dad. There we go. So there we are, eventually. Portugal apparently are going to win on Friday against Spain. Lucy, my dog, I'm not sure, I don't want to undermine confidence in her predictions ability or in her general intelligence, but I do want to show you this additional bonus footage that I recorded while filming that. Here you can see, and you can probably hear in the background, I'm asking Lucy where her ball is. It's, as you can probably notice, is just immediately behind her, literally about 2 feet behind her. This goes on, how long are we going now? 10, 15, 20 seconds. She still has no idea where to go. She hasn't really looked, to be honest, and then she lies down and whines. So not the most intelligent animal on the planet, so we'll see whether you need that kind of nous, that kind of intellect to successfully predict. But Paul the octopus did it, and I think dogs are more intelligent than octopuses.
Definitely,
so
yeah.
We'll find out.
She's got plenty of more games to practice anyway. So.
Let's find out if Ali Gregory is more intelligent than a dog or an octopus. Ali, what do you reckon? Spain or Portugal?
I'm sticking my neck out and going Spain. I think we've got a really good team this year. Confidence is back. And I reckon they'll do what they did in 2010. They look good. Portugal, on the other hand, a bit of an Asian squad, and Cristiano Ronaldo, this has got to be his last World Cup.
Spain all the way?
Spain to the final, I think.
Wow.
And then and then I think that they'll lose. I don't think that they've got winning ability, but I think they'll definitely finish top of that group. And it's a difficult group as well.
Now, if we have a look at some of the other games that are on before we're next with you on Saturday, Egypt are playing Uruguay on the first game today. And then Morocco, probably happened in fact by the time you're watching this, Morocco against Iran and Portugal, Spain. Dan, any of those take your fancy? Which of those do you think is a game to watch? Portugal, Spain is the obvious one.
Well, so yeah, I'm probably going to say that one, to be honest.
But what about Egypt, Uruguay? I mean,
is Salah playing?
Well, if he's fit, Salah
he's looking good at the moment,
and Suarez, I think that's a dark horse for a good little game.
Yeah, I was thinking about Salah recently, and obviously we've got our draft coming up, and I just don't see him doing anything. I think the season that he's had has been built on the success of the Liverpool team around him, and I'm not sure Egypt are quite that good when El Neni is starting for them. I can probably say they're not.
He almost single-handedly took him to the World Cup, didn't he? As well.
Yeah, he got something like 6 of their 9.
Yeah.
He scored 9 goals in qualifying, and he got 6 of them or something.
He's considered the king of Egypt.
And he does very, very well, even when Liverpool are underperforming as well. I think he carried them for a lot of games. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool as a team are fantastic, but when they weren't performing, Salah stepped up.
Who earlier said Morocco, their dark horse pick?
I think that was Frankie.
Was here. Morocco are playing Iran, so we'll find out.
I think Iran there.
Yeah.
Let's go for Iran.
Yeah, Iran all the way.
Yeah, if Frankie said it then. But don't tell anyone. Didn't he say, don't tell anyone, but
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah. Never bring this back to haunt me.
We might have an Iranian expert coming in a few weeks.
Who knows? Who knows? What guests are coming down the pipeline? Now, just before we go, one thing we thought it would be kind to do during the summer is to take a look at some of the players who didn't make it to the World Cup in a segment we're calling Wish You Were Here. And so if you've got any sightings of any players who haven't made it to the World Cup, then please do tweet us using our tag at Armchair Fancast or hashtag Armchair Fancast. We have had one. We've had one already. Hector Bellerin, one of your boys, Dan and Ali.
One of their good boys.
Wasn't obviously selected to be in his World Cup squad, but he has been at the Formula One. Now, for copyright reasons, we're not going to show you any moving footage, but here's a still, and if you can find it on YouTube, look it up, because you'll see, first of all, you'll see that the presenter for Sky Sports F1 singularly fails to realise that he's looking at Hector Bellerin. He just calls him a hipster.
With shaved heads, but Hector Bellerin's hair is so long.
Rose-tinted glasses.
Yeah, right. He did have rose. They were cool glasses.
And a singlet.
Yeah, and as you'll see, I'm not sure what that was about. He was wearing totally
blouse.
Bellerin, as you see here, he tries to awkwardly. First of all, he knows he's on camera, then he tries to awkwardly shuffle away. He realises there's no real way to get out of shot, so he just kind of meekly sits down at a table and hopes that Sky Sports will go away, which they eventually do. So Hector Bellerin clearly having a good time at the Formula One. I'm worried about Leroy Sané, to be honest.
Where is he?
There's been one tweet. Let's get I'll get the photo up of Leroy Sané here. This is the only tweet he's sent out since he was not selected for Germany, other than a quick thank you note. This is just a picture of him staring to the left. Leroy, we hope you're all right. If anyone's seen Leroy Sané, then please do let us know, and we will update the Armchair Fancast Nation on our next episode at the weekend. That's just about it for today. Before we go, gentlemen, what are you doing? Where are you watching the opening game? Russia, Saudi Arabia.
Well, I think I have to miss the first half because it kicks off at 4 o'clock, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit early. And then I might not watch the second half. It's a bit but yeah.
So you're not taking a day off work for that?
Certainly not. I think the World Cup in my eyes will start against Spain, Portugal.
When Ronaldo scores his first 30-yard screamer, maybe.
No.
You two, what are the highlights of your week? Dan, what are you up to?
Well, so for the opening game, I'm now working from home. So I've set up.
Brilliant!
I have
working from home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I've set up a triple screen viewing platform for the World Cup. So I've got my laptop, my desktop monitor, and then in between those two, I can see my TV at the back of the room. So that's where I'll be watching most of the games.
The drab 0-0.
Yeah, the drab 0-0 of the opening tournament. Yeah, but like Ali says, very much looking forward to Friday night, Spain, Portugal.
Owen, I don't know if you've recovered enough from the Champions League final to be prepared to watch some live football again. Are you going to
Not really,
indulge?
Dave. No? Maybe not for that
nerve?
first game as well, but definitely for the next game after that. I'll be looking forward to that immensely.
Well, there we are. Before we go, don't forget we have a podcast version of this show as well. You can catch us on iTunes and TuneIn and Stitcher and SoundCloud and all over the place. We'll give you the links to those in the description. Please subscribe to our channel. It would help us an awful lot and spread the word. Clearly, this is our first ever episode on YouTube, so we would very much appreciate the love. Click that subscribe button and share it with all your buddies on the Twitter and the Facebook and the Instagram and all the other things that the kids are into these days. We are back on Saturday. We will be recording on Friday night, so we'll be recording straight after Spain and Portugal. So join us for our reactions to that over the weekend, when we will be previewing the first England game of what will ultimately be our first World Cup triumph in 52 years. It all starts when we smash Tunisia on Monday. We'll be previewing that on Saturday's show. In the meantime, thanks to Frankie, and thanks to Ali, and to Owen, and to Dan. Thanks to you for listening, and we will see you at the weekend for the next episode of Armchair Fancast Does Russia 2018.